As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the desolate landscape, John Harris prepared for another long haul. An experienced truck driver, he had seen many strange things on the road, but nothing prepared him for what was about to unfold on Highway 66. John had been driving for hours without a break when he saw the flickering neon sign of an old gas station. Needing to refuel and grab a quick bite, he pulled in. The station was eerily silent, with no sign of an attendant or other travelers. The only sound was the faint hum of the fluorescent lights. As John filled up his tank, a man appeared from behind the building. Dressed in an outdated uniform, he had a pale, gaunt face and piercing eyes. The man didn't speak, but watched John intently. John felt a chill run down his spine as he paid for the gas. The stranger handed him a receipt, but when John looked up, the man was gone. Back on the road, John tuned into his favorite radio station. Suddenly, the music was interrupted by static, followed by a garbled voice reciting what sounded like a poem or an incantation. The words were chilling, speaking of lost souls and a cursed road. As quickly as it started, the broadcast returned to normal, leaving John with a sense of dread. As John drove further, he noticed headlights in his rearview mirror. A large truck was approaching fast, flashing its lights. John pulled over to let it pass, but as it did, he noticed the truck had no driver. The cab was empty, and the truck continued down the highway, disappearing into the darkness. Needing to rest, John decided to stop in the next town. However, as he entered, he realized something was wrong. The town was completely abandoned, with buildings in disrepair and no signs of life. The only movement came from an old, rusted swing creaking in the wind. Feeling uneasy, John decided to leave, but the road out seemed to lead him back into the town, as if he were trapped. As John tried to find his way out, he saw an old woman standing in the middle of the road. She wore a tattered dress and had wild gray hair. Her eyes were vacant, and she muttered incoherently. John tried to ask for directions, but she only pointed down the road and disappeared as he blinked. John finally found a road leading out of the town, but as he crossed a narrow bridge, he saw a group of people standing on the edge, staring down into the dark waters below. They all turned to look at him, their faces expressionless. Suddenly, they began to step off the bridge one by one, disappearing into the water. John sped away, his heart pounding. Further down the road, John saw a flashing hazard light and pulled over. He found an overturned truck, its cab crushed and its cargo spilled across the road. There were no signs of the driver. As John inspected the wreckage, he noticed that the truck's license plate matched the phantom truck he had seen earlier. He hurried back to his truck, unnerved by the coincidence. As John continued his journey, he saw a figure hitchhiking on the side of the road. Despite his instincts, he decided to stop and offer a ride. The hitchhiker, a young man with a haunted expression, silently climbed into the cab. As they drove, the hitchhiker began to tell a story about a haunted highway where travelers disappear without a trace. When John looked over, the hitchhiker was gone, leaving only a cold spot where he had been sitting. Feeling exhausted and spooked, John decided to stop at a rest area. It was quiet, with only a few trucks parked and the distant hum of the highway. As John tried to sleep, he heard strange noises outside, like footsteps and whispers. When he investigated, he found nothing but an unsettling stillness. Returning to his truck, he saw the words, "Turn back," scrawled in dirt on his windshield. John continued his journey, now fully alert and paranoid. As he drove, he saw a sign on the side of the road warning of danger ahead. Ignoring the sign, he pressed on, only to see another sign that read, "Last chance to turn back." John felt an overwhelming sense of dread but pushed forward, determined to reach his destination. As dawn approached, John began to feel relieved that the night was almost over. Suddenly, his truck's radio turned on by itself, playing an old song he remembered from his childhood. The road ahead seemed to blur, and John saw a vision of a young woman standing in the middle of the road holding a child. He swerved to avoid them, but when he looked again, they were gone. Shaken, he pulled over and got out of the truck, trying to calm himself. John looked at his map and realized he was close to his destination, a small town off the highway. However, as he continued driving, the road seemed to change. It became narrower, lined with trees that seemed to close in on him. The GPS signal faded, and the road ended abruptly in a dense forest. John got out to check his surroundings, but found no sign of the town or any other road. Realizing he was hopelessly lost, John tried to turn the truck around, but it wouldn't start. As he sat in the cab, he noticed the woods around him seemed to come alive, with shadows moving and whispering voices growing louder. Panic set in as he tried his phone, but there was no signal. The last thing John remembered was seeing the phantom truck from earlier, now parked beside his, before everything went dark. Days later, authorities found John's truck abandoned at the end of the road. There was no sign of John or any indication of where he could have gone. The only clue was a single word scrawled on the truck's windshield: lost.
Thank you for watching Midnight Knocks. If you enjoyed our horror stories, please give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more spine-chilling tales. Don't forget to check out our other videos for more eerie adventures. Until next time, stay spooky.